All countries depend on international trade to augment their own domestic production. Global imports and exports represent a significant portion of most countries' economy and gross domestic products as they import items and raw materials. Conversely, they need and export items in order to create a balance in their trade equation. Global trade has increased dramatically over the course of the last century due to advances in transportation and manufacturing technology. Regulating global imports. Usually countries regulate trade with each other by forming agreements that are mutually beneficial in terms of purchase prices for exported goods and favorable taxation rates on imports. This ratio of imports to exports called a balance of trade. When a nation exports more products than it imports, they have a positive balance or trade surplus. Ideally, the ratio of global imports should be lower than that of exports to avoid a trade deficit. Trade deficits can indicate a weak economy that is dependent on outside commodities. Free trade. Many nations are now actively implementing free trade policies for global imports and exports. Free trade is essentially when trading is allowed across international borders without government interferences, such as tariffs, taxes, or other restrictions. This usually allows true supply and demand pricing to develop, as prices are not inflated or kept low artificially. Free trade zones exist all over the world, notably in North America, Southeast Asia, including India, North Africa, and Oceania. The World Trade Organization regulates and monitors global trade. Top importers. The current top trading nations or areas in the world are the European Union, particularly Germany, the US, China and Japan. These countries produce and export the most goods and services, and are the biggest consumers of commodities as well. The biggest global imports are mineral fuels, petroleum, etc., electronic or electric equipment, large machinery, personal motorized vehicles, drugs and medicines, medical equipment, plastic products, precious metals and stones, inorganic chemicals, and iron and steel. Risks with global imports. Businesses that engage in global imports and exports have the opportunity to profit greatly by delivering the goods and services to areas where they are wanted. However, they do face substantial risks as well. Some of the biggest problems that trading companies face are purchases withhold payment or reject goods despite previous agreements, credit defaults, as well as government or other intervention, such as cargo seizures, and political unrest causing policy changes or safety concerns. Often you will have no control over these events, but if you research well you may be able to avert possible problems and avoid high-risk situations. How to make money with global imports. Anyone wanting to make money with global imports needs to do their homework first. A sound knowledge of your market should be bolstered with exhaustive research into the country or region from which you wish to import. This research should include understanding cultural standards and local business practices that may be unique to a particular country. Also to understand fully the needs and wants of the target market. Find a product or service that has a demonstrable, steady demand. Set up your supply chain, and begin your business. A global imports firm needs to be intimately aware of the import-export rules and regulations of the countries in which they do business. They need to know about the current balance of trade, levels and structures of import taxation rules. They must have contacts in the customs department and ports, and be conversant with the country's overall economic state. The industry is exciting, fulfilling, and potentially very lucrative.